Welcome to the Bev Boys basketball broadcast, where we talk Bevs, basketball, and really whatever else we have that comes to our minds. We're three guys. I'm Alvin.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Nick.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Let's get to the Bevs, which y'all got. Let's start with Tyler.
I do have a bev this week. No
That's
good.
Milk. You went to the bodega, I guess.
I went to the bodega, or as my boss calls it, bodego for some reason. I don't know why. So I went old school with this one. He is definitely not. He's from Colorado. I got a little Jarritos, bringing it back from middle school. Right. Remember the kids would call it Jarritos back in the day. This is the Pokemon. fruit punch flavor.
Fun.
Sound like you're really enjoying that.
Oh, that's good stuff.
I heard that gulp.
Oh, it was a big gulp.
big gulp.
Yeah. little sudsy gulp
big
there.
Gulp. Yeah. Is it on your tongue too? Am I seeing that correctly for those? Okay, maybe not. Your tongue's just got a vibrant red color to those who are not watching us. If you aren't, consider that. Anyway.
Okay. All right.
What you?
Is it on me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was looking around today, and this caught my eye because it's like, oh, this obscure, just like blue. Zoomed in.
Wait a minute.
Guaraná up in here. I was like, oh shit! All right.
Oh, I know balls,
changer.
Bro.
So, let me see if it compares to like actual Guaraná. It's not quite the same. It has like a little bit more of like a almost like vanilla-y taste to it. It's like similar, but it's not quite the same.
For those who don't know, Guaraná is like a Brazilian soda that's freaking delicious.
Yeah, it's like honestly probably one of the best sodas out there, like in the world, straight up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about balls.
Would you call ball? Yeah. I drank a lot of balls in middle school because on Saturdays there was a laser tag place that would have $20 laser tag from like 2 to 7 p.m. So you go there, $20, tons of laser tag, go buy some balls at the end of it. I would save all of my dollars for it. It was worth it.
That's a good Saturday.
Yeah, especially as like a angsty middle schooler. Pretty good. Would you call balls Guaraná adjacent?
No, definitely not. It was all right, but it doesn't compare, unfortunately, like to like actual like Guaraná, like from Brazil. Like it's
You have to get the brand called Antarctica.
Yeah,
Antarctica. That is the legit Brazilian top of the line Guaraná. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
That's the shit right there.
That's a real Bev Boys basketball podcast pro tip.
Big time.
First official pro tip. I love that. That's a great pro tip. Yeah. Thanks.
All right, Alvin, what you got, man? Impress us.
Okay. I'm not, because I went back to basics. I got some Nesquik.
Oh, some chalky milk. Oh, damn.
Sounds pretty good.
Some chalky. I was having a rough day, so I bought me some chocolate milk. Chalky milk to take the edge off. So check this out. It's got this interesting peel to it to open it up. That's kind of surprising. I don't know. Anyways, I'm having a really tough time getting the thing off, and it took the whole thing off. So I've actually never purchased Nesquik milk like this. So
I can't remember the last time I've had that.
That's chocolate milk.
No,
that's it.
I can't remember if Lizzie gets Nesquik. No, she gets a different brand. She's very passionate about her chocolate milk. But I think
she gets True Moo.
One of the four.
Yes, True Moo. She gets True Moo. That's the one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, classic. I think True Moo is really better than this. This tastes like they took milk and then added Nesquik powder to it, which is not what you want. Absolutely not what you want from this. You want, if you're buying like a pre-made chocolate milk, I feel like it has to be like a chocolate syrup that it's made from. Is my take. Like it's got to feel a little bit thicker.
It hits a little
There's
different.
a chocolate milk. There's chocolate milk at Whole Foods that I think I'm gonna cop sometime when I need to take the edge off, and I'll bring it to the broadcast.
Chocolate milk from Whole Foods. Look at you go, you bougie boy.
Yeah. All kinds of buzzwords. I'm really just trying to hit all the keywords to bring this podcast to the next level, you know? So anyways, all right. Thanks for the bevs, everyone. I want to talk a little bit about Texas. I was in Texas during this natural disaster, is what the U.S. is calling it. I don't know if it's natural necessarily, but it's Texas. Fuck Ted Cruz, all of that. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say, really.
Yeah, let's hear. How was it? You experienced
really
it firsthand.
Yeah, so I'm from Salt Lake City. I was in Texas visiting my wife Valentine's Day weekend, like a good husband does.
Aww,
that is separated. So thank you. So, went there, doing good. Monday was fine, and on Monday they started doing these rolling blackouts, which we grew up in California. We're all familiar with rolling blackouts, where they just cut the power for a specific period of time. Usually they tell you ahead of time the intervals at which they're going to do the rolling blackouts. Not in Texas. So first we had 15 minutes of power, and then 45 minutes of no power, and then 15 minutes, and then 45 minutes. 15 minutes is not enough for your like modem and just internet in general to start up. So we basically didn't have internet for the whole day, but we had power. Like we were warm. However, good. Like the rolling blackouts went from like 15 minutes of power to like 10 minutes to 5 minutes to no power. So by the end of the night, we had no power. And like it started, and it was snowing like crazy. It got super cold. We were without power for 5 days in San Antonio, which isn't as bad as like a lot of Dallas and Austin. Like a lot of people had it worse there. Yeah. We were fortunate in that our pipes didn't burst. We had the water running through the night, so I don't know if that did it, but it probably helped a little bit. But there was a water boil notice, so we couldn't shower and we couldn't drink the milk from the spout. Or not milk, I'm thinking about chocolate milk. We couldn't drink the water from the spout. So everything that we used water for, we had to boil. Which really frustrating when you have to like take a bath or shower. Not showering, you're doing like a sponge bath. Like so we were fortunate. We had friends who lived like across the street from the hospital, and the hospital only lost power once. So I was able to like do what I needed to, but I remember walking home at the end of the night one night, and like in a 15-minute period, I saw like 2 different cars crash into like the curb and to like this like other things because of all the ice on the ground.
Yeah, they don't know how to drive in that kind of road, I'm sure.
Yeah, they don't know, but also there's no infrastructure for it. There are no like
yeah, true.
There's no salt out there. There's no like sand to like try and mitigate all of that. It was pretty like you couldn't drive. It was just unsafe to drive for a lot of it. So it's clear that there's a lot of things that need to be done in Texas, and I hope that people come to their senses and figure out that like people need to look out for one another, and the government needs to do that too. Instead of Ted Cruz pulling out and going to Mexico.
You know, The Simpsons predicted that would happen. Something like that would happen. Like
there's an episode with Mayor Quimby.
Where it called,
yeah. I watched The Simpsons.
Unreal, man. Well, we're glad you made it back safe, and Nikel's doing okay, and everything's back to normal.
Yeah, I will say, if y'all don't already know, there's a lot of Texas mutual aid groups, a lot of Austin mutual aid groups that are still out there to help people. And if you can donate, you should. Just shouting that out, because there's still people without power out there, incredibly, and there's still people without water too. So it's not over until everyone electricity back. That's all. That's my piece. So
well said.
If there's nothing else y'all have to say, let's get on to the NBA stuff, huh?
Let's get to
Let's get to the real important stuff. This is what we live for. Basketball.
Thank you. Yeah, the real important
these
stuff,
are real
not
issues.
just basic necessities. Yeah. These are the issues.
Let's talk All-Stars.
So let's talk All-Stars. The All-Star reserves were revealed yesterday. In the West, we have Chris Paul, Paul George, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Zion Williamson, and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, however, has gotten like an injury exemption, and Devin Booker will be taking his place. What's you guys' take there?
He absolutely deserves it. Booker's a killer.
Yeah, absolutely. He was, I think, the most deserving of anybody else in the West as far as like getting to the All-Star vote. So I would have rather had him over Chris Paul in general, even without it. But that's just one of those All-Star voting kind of things that's just kind of lame, honestly.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, Chris Paul is integral to what the Suns are doing, but he's the guy. I mean, he does it all for them. He scores big buckets, and he's been doing that for years. So I'm glad to see him get a spot, even though it's just an injury reserve. But kudos to him for kicking ass. Even though we hate the Suns, good for Devin Booker.
It pains me to say that Devin Booker deserves an All-Star spot. It pains me to say that, but he absolutely did. Like, when you watch a Suns game, you can tell that Chris Paul is at the helm because of how slow they play and how deliberately they play. But that team is nothing without Devin Booker being able to like get out there and get buckets basically at will. So
absolutely.
Okay, let's go to the East really quick. So we have reserves of James Harden, Julius Randle, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Zach LaVine, Ben Simmons, and Nikola Vucevic. What are you guys' thoughts on the East?
I like all of those except for Vooch. I think Bam or Sabonis deserves it more than him, and that's my hot take.
Bro, Vooch is killing it this year. Vooch is crushing it this year, though. He's better than he was his last All-Star bid this year, if you look at his stats.
But that's because the Magic have nobody else right now.
Well, that's also true.
Whereas you have like Sabonis, who's leading the team for a much better team, and Bam's been killing it too. I don't know. That's just I personally think either one of those two deserve it more.
Yeah.
So check it. So we've got 24 points per game, 11.7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. Pretty good. I mean, Sabonis does really good stuff, and I love it when big men are able to pass from the elbow. But Vooch, I think Vooch is okay. And if he didn't make it, he would have been a snub.
Absolutely.
I think
we'll for sure have to talk about.
This is probably his last All-Star bid, I would guess, because I think next year it's going to be Bam, it's going to be Sabonis and other guys. I mean, they're so young; they're going to get tons more. So I'm okay with Vooch getting it this year. He's.
Are those your?
What's that?
Are those your snubs for the year?
I mean, they're definitely snubs. I mean, looking at the list that you have here, it's Adebayo, Jimmy. Wait, did Jimmy Butler really not get an All-Star bid?
Didn't get it. No. I mean, to be fair, he's been injured for a good portion of the year, so I would think that's probably the only reason why, honestly. So,
and you also have DeMar DeRozan, which I mean, he's good still. I don't know if he's quite an All-Star. Mike Conley.
Let me find these statistics really quick. Keep going.
Mike Conley, De'Aaron Fox, Trey Young. Yeah, I mean, I put Adebayo and Sabonis as like the big snubs.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I replace them with anyone. I mean, Julius Randle definitely
he deserves it.
He's
more
kicking
than
ass.
Almost anybody, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, same with Zach Levine.
I was real happy to see that.
Yeah, Zach Levine too, man.
Yeah.
Same. Imagine if Zach Levine was on the Kings. Remember when he signed that contract with us?
Did Vladdy actually know what he was doing? Is Vladdy smarter than we thought?
Yeah, we were asking that question. Yeah.
Because I remember seeing that.
Turns out
he
was just using us.
Like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, that contract isn't bad. He's only making like 19 million a year right now, and he's putting up like 25 and 5 or whatever he's doing.
Yeah,
25, 5 and 5.
At the time, we were like, "Oh, we gotta pay Buddy." So does this mean that like what happens between them and Buddy? Like, who's gonna be better between the two of them? And then Buddy ends up getting 25 million a year.
That didn't age very well.
All right, really quick, I just want to pull up, and it's not because my wife, shout out Nikel, lives in San Antonio, but DeMar DeRozan has been awesome this year. Like, in case, I'm just gonna put y'all on really quick. So 20 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. Those two numbers are about in line, maybe slightly lower than what he usually does. 1.6 turnovers per game, which is actually his lowest since his rookie year. Pretty crazy. 7 assists per game.
Wow. Whoa.
Damn, I did not.
That's a career high, right? That's got to be.
Yeah, by far. His
is he shooting
high was 5.3. So he's shooting 2 3-pointers a game, and he's doing it at a 33% clip, which is respectable.
Yeah, it's good enough.
For DeRozan, it's good.
You gotta try and close out on him, so, and then 48.8% from the field. So I think that's pretty good. So yeah, I would call him a snub. It's just that people aren't watching him too much, I don't think. So
yeah, I think he deserves to be on the snub list. I still don't think he's an all-star. I don't think he's as good as the other guys that made it, but he's still a killer. Like, he can be the best player on the court in a lot of games sometimes, like if he's playing against the Kings, he's still probably the best player on the court. Well, is De'Aaron better than DeRozan right now? You think Fox is better?
Fox is better.
So Fox is a snub then this year?
Fox is definitely a snub. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. We'll talk about Fox.
Yeah,
we'll talk about Fox. I have a lot of thoughts. I think like the slump that we've gone through is that the Kings have gone through is kind of worsened his chances in his case to be an all-star, but he's definitely deserving if they were to put him in that position. So let's talk about someone who is could be argued to be a snub, Trey Young. Nick, I see that face. Let's talk about Trey Young really quick. So in our group chat, we had a pretty vigorous conversation about Trey Young basically ruining the game.
Yeah, I was like scrolling through the gram, and it was like a highlight reel of him. And I've seen this just watching games this year on my own, seeing him do it, and I don't like it. But I didn't realize how often he's doing it, where he's at the perimeter and he's coming off of like a pick and roll, and he gets to the elbow and then like jumps backwards into the defender that's chasing him to draw a foul. And it's like automatic foul every single time, even if they like don't even come close to touching him. And it's like the most infuriating thing to watch, because it's very like James Harden-esque, but it's like, it's one thing if you're just going to the hoop and you go hard and you draw a foul, even if they don't really foul you, like whatever, that's one thing, because you're at least going at it like that. And there's a chance that, it's still a fair play in a sense to the defender. But like when you're doing something like that, you are artificially making it like impossible for a defender to guard you. It's not even like, oh, you're just better than him or you're craftier or whatever. No, it's like you're just manipulating refs in the game, and like that's the purpose behind what you're doing. You're not trying to make your team better. You're not trying to get a good shot off or assist a player. You're literally, your whole purpose of what you're doing right now is to just draw a foul. And I know he's not the only one that does it, but I think he's one of the worst that does it. And I think he's the next generation of like what Harden started, and he's going to take it to another level. Also because he's smaller, they're going to give it to him even more, and because he's already a bigger name, I just that move more than any move, I think it's one thing to like flop, but it's another to like do a move like that I just, oh God, I hate it so much. And I think that's the kind of stuff that is ruining basketball. And I don't know why, I just don't like him. There's just something about him that bugs me.
He's got a punchable face, man. I think that's
true.
what it is.
Kind of like Devin Booker. Sorry, Devin.
Kind of, yeah. But like,
except he's like the ugly version.
Yeah.
Booker's like the pretty boy version.
Yeah, that's very true.
Trey's got that raggedy hair.
He needs to shave that and just buzz it, man, honestly, because it's bad. But I don't know. I just think, yeah, he can do some pretty crazy stuff, but I think the majority of his game is just empty stats. Their team doesn't ever seem to get any better every year he's played. And people want to compare him to Steph Curry. It's like, I'm sorry, but like his 3-point percentages are not close to what Steph Curry does. And even though they're both volume shooters, it's just like not even in the same category, and he doesn't deserve to be in the same category. I don't know. I could go on all day. So that's it.
One thing I was thinking of with these maneuvers that players do just to get fouled, which is unwatchable basketball in my opinion, is I think it was Steph Curry who was doing a lot of this, and a lot of just 3-point shooters, where they'll pump fake a three, and then the defender will jump
into it,
and then the shooter will jump into the defender, which is not what they're trying to do originally. They're trying to shoot. I mean, you're supposed to shoot straight up, right? But when you're like leaning into someone to get a foul, like that's not basketball. That's not a normal basketball move. That's artificial.
One sucks, but I don't mind that as much because at least you tricked the player into jumping and biting. Whereas
but you're hitting them, like you're moving into the defender.
Yeah, but
when you're shooting,
the move that he does where he's coming off of a screen and he gets to the elbow, like what is a defender supposed to do about that? You have to follow him, and then all of a sudden he just stops completely and jumps into you backwards as you're coming towards him. Like there's nothing a defender can do about that, because they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Whereas like if you pump fake, it's like, okay, well you bid on that, you should bite on
no.
Time.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying then. Pump faking is one thing, but like I think Steph would to the side, that you're like, you kind of shoot over to the side so that you get hit by the defender who bites on your pump fake.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, like
not right in front of you, but like leaning all the way over into somebody. Yeah. That's not a shooting motion. Shooting motion is straight up and down. So if a defender bites on your pump and hits you on your way straight up, that's totally fine. That's a foul. But when you're leaning over and you're like elbowing someone almost to get the foul, or what Trey Young does from behind, like you're leaving your shooting cylinder. And to me, that shouldn't be a foul.
Yeah, they need
on the defender. That should be an offensive foul. Like you're hitting someone.
They need to
who's trying to defend you.
Change all of that. They need to start either finding players or like penalizing them. What is it now? Like on certain flops, do they get like penalized like one game or something like that? Is that what the rule is now?
I think it's after a number of them. You have to you have to flop a certain number of times.
I think they need to do the same with this kind of stuff where you're like jumping into a person to draw a foul, like because that's what you're not better than them. You're just like artificially creating a situation where it's like it's not fair. It's
and at the same time they've got to change that rule, and the NBA's got to tell refs that they need to just like not blow the whistle at those times. Because I mean, here's the thing. Jamal Crawford, one of my all-time favorite players. Love that guy. I don't know where he should be playing, but I would love to see him in the NBA still. Shout out Jamal Crawford if you ever want to be on the Bev Boys basketball broadcast. Anyways, come find me at Alvin Holbrook on Twitter. Anyways, he like led the league like in 4-point shots, like for a long time. And he would kind of like lean into the defender too to draw those fouls, except he wasn't as obvious about it, and he was basically the only person doing it, and he didn't make that like an integral part of his game like Trey Young seemed to do at the start of the season.
Yeah, I think that's where I draw the line, is where like someone like a James Harden or like a Trey Young, like that is a integral part of their game. Like James Harden, like I think his MVP season, he was averaging like over 30 points, but he was also averaging at least 10 free throws a game.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you want to talk
so
about points,
boring.
but like, yeah, it's just like you make it unwatchable. The pace is like down to a crawl. And it's just like you're just telling the refs you're gonna like win me this game basically because you have to decide. I hate that so much.
Well, I've kind of changed my tune a little bit on James Harden because I used to be in your same boat for a long time and of your opinion. Like I'm kind of the opinion now that like yeah, I still believe that the refs need to like hold their whistles for a lot of this, but James Harden's just so good and so shifty at that that
like,
even if
made it an art for him.
Yeah, and there are times where he's just like dribbling between his legs and he pulls up and then he gets fouled because he's just so good at like the like not particularly obvious hesitations that like get people off their center of balance and that type of thing. And I used to hate watching Harden, and I think it's maybe I don't know what's changed on the Nets, but I don't hate watching him as much. Because a lot of his fouls are also him just like getting to the bucket and just being stronger than
I don't
his
mind
defender
that.
too.
Yeah.
See? Exactly.
I don't mind
that either.
And his role has kind of changed on the Nets. I mean, him and Kyrie both talked about who was going to do what. And Kyrie's like, you're the point guard. Like, you handle the rock. I'm going to be a shooting guard. So
yeah,
that's kind of cool to see them work it out that way. I definitely didn't expect that at all.
I wasn't sure how that was going to pan out.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be KD who's going to have to like sacrifice a little bit and play more defense, but KD's been KD. So one last thing about shitting on Trey Young before we move on. I don't know if y'all saw the Hawks-Cavs game from last night. It was a tight game. It was 112-111. Cavs won. They snapped a 10-game losing streak. I don't know if y'all watched that. I watched the second half of that game. The Hawks had like pretty big leads each time going into that, like after halftime and then third quarter, they had multiple leads that they were losing. Also, the Cavs are really shorthanded right now. There's a lot of players that they're missing, and the game was won on a dude named Lamar Stevens just getting a wide open dunk, like with a couple seconds left, and that won the game. And what had happened is that Trey Young wasn't playing defense. So for him to complain about fouls and then just not do anything to let like Lamar Stevens get to the hoop, like that's ridiculous and that's maddening. And I'm sure there are more people who are going to say this, but he is not an all-star snub in my eyes.
No, I don't believe so.
He's good.
He's empty.
He's a masterful player, but he is not a snub. He is just
that is a
hasn't
hot
been good
take.
enough this year.
I absolutely agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I could go on and on about
Big Gilgeous Alexander, big snub, but not
SGA.
Yeah. Not him. So, anyways, we're gonna move on really quick. I've got a guessing game for y'all. We're gonna pivot to the Kings.
Hey.
So I'm gonna give you a couple of statistics, and you're gonna tell me what player on the Sacramento Kings you think this is. So this season have shot 71% within 6 feet, with 70 of their shots this year coming in within 9 feet. They're second on the team in defensive plus minus, as well as first on the team in offensive plus minus.
If it's not Rashawn Holmes, I don't know who it could be.
I'm going to guess Tyrese Halliburton.
No. Daquan. No, it's not even Daquan Jeffries. I don't know why I said that.
Well, I was like, bro, he like just started.
It's your guy, Robert Woodard III.
He's played like 2 minutes.
I know, very limited minutes, but this is what's been happening.
Out of here.
We're using it as a point to talk about Robert Woodard.
Bro.
We're doing it.
Oh, damn, you got us. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
In 5 minutes, 71% within 6 feet. Okay, bro.
Yeah. Well, anyways, let's talk about Robert Woodard.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts, Nick? You just lit up. I love that.
I mean, like, I've been high on him since we drafted him. Like, I was just like, this is exactly the kind of dude we need. He's gonna be our future, like, PJ Tucker, in my opinion. Like, dude who could play like small ball 5, honestly, if it really came down to it. But like, just a beast of a human being with excellent defensive ability and IQ. Like, if we bring him in, he'll already be like him and Halliburton will be like our 2 like top off ball defenders in the team. And I mean, he's killing it in the G League. Like, he's just like on fire right now. So he's already coming off of that momentum what he could bring. And it's like, especially since we just released Glenn Robinson, bring him in and give him those minutes, give him all those minutes and more if you can. And just let him do his thing. Let him start to develop, because obviously he's ready for it.
Our bench can't get any worse. So,
no, God, no.
Let's at least give him a chance to make it better. I mean, if we threw him 15, 20 minutes a game to see what he's got, that'd be great to see.
15, 20.
Dude is a total beast of a man. I mean, what he set like the bench press record.
He beat the whole team out, as far as like who could lift the most.
Jeez. I mean,
yeah, he just got
he beat Hassan Whiteside. I mean, that is like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch.
That's pretty good. In the G League so far, 30.5 minutes per game, 16.2 points, 10.2 rebounds, 1.5 steals, a block, and doing it on 42 or 44% shooting from the field. Pretty good, man. Like, I think if he were to come to the NBA right now, he'd easily be probably the 8th best player on the team, which I think says more about our lack of depth. But
part of it,
just watching some of his stuff, like, you can tell that he's maybe like a half step slow on defense, and I think it's partially just because he's just not very quick laterally, but he makes up with it with his smarts.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've seen.
Yeah, the dude's just really smart, which is
super awesome. Like, off ball defender, knows where stuff's at, knows what's happening. Like, high IQ defender. Like you said, like, lateral quickness probably isn't totally there, but he still has good size and smarts to make up for it, to where it's like, yeah, dope. Like, throw him on there.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to see Glenn Robinson being cut. That stinks for him. He seems super gracious on Twitter. I thought this would be really cool if the Kings were to have guaranteed his contract before cutting him, so he could have gotten his money, even if it were only like $1.5 million. I think that would have been
good
pretty
dude.
cool.
Like,
so here's the question: they don't get paid anything for all the games and practices that they went to and played in? Nothing.
So my understanding is that they get paid their contract up to this point.
Okay.
So whatever percentage of the season is that he's been in is the percentage of his contract that he gets.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
That's fine. Yeah, as long as he got paid for the work he put in. I was going to say that's pretty cruel to not pay him anything.
Yeah, exactly. I know that Boogie, when he got released from the Rockets, they guaranteed his contract and then they cut him, which really classy.
Yeah,
love the move. Love to see DeMarcus Cousins out there on a team and killing it. Lakers would be really cool. But any other words on Robert Woodard before we move on?
Just give him minutes. Bring him up. It's time.
Put him in, coach.
He's ready.
Yeah. And the Kings are to be losing, which we'll definitely talk about the Kings losing in due time. Like if they're going to be losing, I would love to I'd be totally fine with us losing 20 minutes of like Robert Woodard and Daquan Jeffries and just like outworking everyone and smarting everyone defensively. That would be excellent.
Just let all the young guys develop.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Cool. So, all right, here's the second guessing one. So, within 3 feet, this player on the Kings is shooting 72.7%, shooting 44% on unassisted threes, also leads the team in value added and estimated wins added per Hollinger by a decent margin. He's actually one of the best in the league in those two counts. He's first on the team in defensive plus minus and the second on the in plus.
I want to say Halliburton. But I'm not sure.
I feel like this is a trick, but I also first on the team in defensive plus or minus. I'm gonna say Rashawn Holmes.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm sorry to like play tricks on y'all like that. But
oh man.
Anyways, Tyrese Halliburton, huh? Like we can't stuff good things about the guy, but the biggest thing that I'm seeing, besides him at times being the best player on the court and being like top 3 on the Kings in giving a shit about the game, like at any moment, his dribbling off, his shooting off the dribble has come a long way, even this season.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that too. Like whether it's his little floaters or whether it's like coming off screens and hitting like the elbow jumpers or threes for that matter, like all of that. Like he's actually like, I've been very pleasantly surprised just seeing that.
Yeah, just like dribbling into his 3-point shots has been really, really good. That's been interesting to see him coming off like a pick and finding an opening and then shooting at the elbow off the dribble has been really impressive. His shot pocket's like pretty high too, which is good. Like that was a big worry of the Kings, and he's like in the draft. But most importantly, he just looks really solid and really confident coming off those shots too. And that's something I never thought he was ever going to add. So that's incredible to see that this early on, you know.
Yeah. So. His also like he's shooting like higher. Like I think it was last night, he shot like took like 20 shots. Like his volume's going up, but his percentages haven't changed at all either. Like he's still shooting like 50%, 40%, like around that kind of area. So it's like, and he's putting up, I think last night he had like 22 and 9 assists and 5 rebounds or something like that, and like leads the team. So it's interesting because I was kind of like, that's something I've thought about. It's like, okay, if we can like trade Buddy away and he becomes starting shooting guard, that means he's going to have to step up like scoring wise. Is he going to be able to increase his volume consistently and do that? And it's looking like he can. Like, I don't see why not, honestly. That's kind of one of the things I really wanted to see for the rest of the season is like his volume of scoring and shooting kind of increase a little bit.
Yeah, and he's looked really good and really comfortable. Like playing off of Fox, but also playing on ball. That's been really impressive, especially when it looks like De'Aaron Fox has looked kind of a little bit off. Like he looks like he's a little bit injured. Like he needs some time to recuperate.
Yeah, I've heard a couple things saying that he's dealing with some kind of nagging injury right now, which is, it shows for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't look 100% right now. So, I'm so grateful that the basketball gods blessed us with Tyrese Halliburton, man.
About damn time.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we continue? Move on to general Kings talk. All right. So two weeks ago, we were talking about how chemistry on the team was at its best. We were talking about how De'Aaron Fox is rolling, how he's a bona fide all-star. We talked about whether or not we should follow through on blowing up the team. 2 weeks later, we've lost what is it, 7 in a row?
I think 8 now after last night.
8 in a row.
Yeah, basically since that game, or since that last game against Philadelphia, we've lost 7 in a row since then. So
it's been a rough 2 weeks, boys. Yeah, we talked about just going for it. I will own my words. I said fuck the draft. Maybe that was a little too soon.
A little premature.
We've had some injuries, like Holmes and Barnes have been out, and we already were lacking depth as it was. So I stand by the fact that our top 6 guys all play really well. Like, we have 6 good NBA players.
Yeah.
If we had 2 or 3 more to add to that equation, I think we would have been fine. Like, you look at the really good teams, obviously they have another all-star, and they have guys who can start if you need them to for a few games. And we don't have any of those things. So of course, when Barnes and Holmes go down, it's just a sinking ship, and there's just no one to pick up the pieces. And I'm just not surprised we lost 8 in a row. Like, there's no surprises there. So
yeah. So we won, was it 7 out of 8 games, and then we've lost 7 or 8 in a row since that point. What's the take on how do we interpret this?
I personally think, like, from seeing this season go, and I guess last season too, for that matter, and like how hot and cold they've been, I really think that this team needs everything to go right in order for them to be successful like they were during that winning streak. Like, they need all their guys to be healthy and, nothing else going wrong. Maybe the other team has some injuries or whatever. Like, they need all of those things to happen in order for them to consistently, like, be as good as they were during that stretch.
Yeah.
But if one thing happens, like a Rashawn Holmes goes out, or like a Harrison Barnes or something like that, then they just revert right back to all of the bad habits and hero ball and shit that we've been watching for the last 14 years, basically. And so it's like, okay, well, is that really a team that you want to rally behind when you have an opportunity to blow it up, tank, and get a top 5 pick in a draft whose top 5 is a bunch of guys who could potentially completely change your franchise?
Yeah.
It's
a great question. And obviously this is not why we are general managers, even though we are proclaiming ourselves to need to be general managers after talking about Jeremy Grant trades last episode. Go listen to that if y'all haven't.
Hey, I would still trade for Jeremy Grant if we could.
Absolutely.
If we could trade Bagley in the first,
come on.
I would do it, or
honestly,
John Collins is available.
A better job than Vlade, so.
And that's the thing, like, my whole point was we can push for the playoffs and still remain young if we did a trade like that for John Collins, Jeremy Grant, Aaron Gordon. Like, those made sense, and then you try to pick up some vets to round out the bench. But yeah, when we're losing this bad, maybe it's not the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. When we were going through those games where we were winning, I noticed that like a lot of those teams had key players injured, and we were completely healthy, or those players were out. And I would look at that and I'd be like, oh, I don't care. Like, whatever, a win's a win. Like, whatever. And I would just like push that to the back of my mind because I'm just so hungry for a good Kings team.
Oh, yeah.
and I wanted that so bad. And I'm sure every other Kings fan was just like, I don't care. Like, I just want a good team. Yep.
Yeah, that's what was happening. So
yeah, no, it is officially time to blow it up, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, just
I don't know.
play. Go ahead.
If we keep losing and we keep Buddy and Barnes and we're still losing.
So that's where all of this kind of comes into play for me, is like, because I've been thinking about that the last couple days, and I guess more specifically because there's still a lot of interest in talk of like Barnes to like Boston or something like that, and we can get back like a Neesmith or Langford or a pick or something like that, and it's like, yeah, that'd be dope. I'd do that. But also it's like similar to like what happened when we traded DeMarcus Cousins, is that we immediately became one of the worst teams in the league, which then allowed us to get lucky and get a top 5 pick, which then landed us De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
And I look at that as like a similar opportunity to where we can trade away Barnes, get some young assets, and then we also immediately become like
Tankers.
even worse, and which then allows us a much better chance at getting a top 5, because there's a very significant drop off. Not that it's like really bad or anything after that, but like the top 5 players in this draft are like on another tier. There's like 2 or 3 different tiers in that top 5, and then the rest after that are still solid but not the same like franchise changing players, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we can blow it up, get some assets, become one of the worst teams, and get the best chance possible at getting, hope even like a top 3 would be ideal, because there's top 3 players, in my opinion, are in a separate tier above the other 2. But like, yeah, if we can blow it up, get some assets, but like my primary concern is getting the best chance possible at getting a top pick in this draft, honestly. Like, that is, the assets and stuff are cool, but I want to get just the best possible chance at a top pick.
You want Cade Cunningham.
Any of those, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, or Jonathan Kuminga. Those are my 3 guys that are just like, any of those 3 would just completely change this franchise.
Yeah,
and would pair so perfectly with Fox and Halliburton.
I think I've got my eyes set on Evan Mobley.
Yeah, he's
I need to watch more of him before I decide for sure that's my guy. But I have a lot of interest in him for sure. In theory of what he can be. So
Kuminga's gaining a lot more interest for me, just because he's been with the G League starting again. We're actually seeing him play, and I'm like watching him, and I'm just like, oh man, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, like, he looks good. He looks legitimately good. He looks like a cut above everyone else. I haven't been watching a ton of G League stuff, but I've been watching a little bit. I watched the Ignite. I've also been watching like the Austin Spurs. I gotta say, like, Luka Samanic or whatever his name is on the Austin Spurs. He's like the power forward center on there who's on the Spurs. He's looking really good. He looks like he's going to be super good. But anyways, I won't. We're talking about the Kings here, not about the Spurs. So, yeah, I guess I just needed to be humbled, and so did Tyler. And that's yeah. Any other words there before we move on?
Tank. Just do it. Yeah, like looking at the percentages like of the draft lottery, like how it works and stuff. I'm just like, the worse we are, the better percentage we have of getting a top pick. Whereas right now we're like, I think like 7th worst record. So it's like around 7.5%. But if you can get to like the top 5 and get in the double digit percentage, like I'm like, all right, cool. We're good.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I want.
For sure. So, all right. One last thing on the Kings. Daquan Jeffries. I remember I talked about players giving a shit. Daquan Jeffries is number 1 on that. Maybe number 2 after after a couple other players, but he's awesome, and I'm so glad that he's back. And it makes sense that we had Glenn Robinson until Daquan Jeffries was back and able to play minutes, because he's good. He deserves minutes, and I'm glad that he's out there for sure. So, yeah, curious to see what happens. Hopefully, he gets a lot more burn in the next little bit. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Cool. I already shared my hot take for the night in that Trey Young is not an all-star. And he won't be until he actually plays defense. Even in like closing that's critical games. But yeah, we've just got to see that. So any takes from y'all before we close up?
I had one thought. Maybe DeMarcus Cousins will finally go to the Celtics like it was always rumored. They're looking for a center. Maybe they'll pick him up. Remember all those rumors back in the day that we were going to trade him to the Celtics? It never happened.
Yeah.
This could be it.
Well, I guess we got to wonder how good of a GM Danny Ainge has been. And maybe this is my other hot take, that Danny Ainge is an overrated general manager.
Maybe.
That's interesting. Yeah,
he hasn't done a lot of stuff, since he acquired all those picks. Those picks haven't really ended up being much, and he's just kind of sat on players, and he hasn't flipped assets.
Yeah.
And despite despite that, people these players feel like they're on the hot seat all the time, and they feel like they could be traded at any moment because Danny Ainge has this reputation for trading players when they need to be traded, but he hasn't been doing that, So anyways.
Yeah, that's
I think you're wrong because he drafted Tatum and Brown with those picks he acquired. So he's gotten 2 all-stars out of that treasure trove of assets that he got. So, it takes a lot of picks to get the guys you really need. Philadelphia knows that better than anyone else. So I don't know if saying that he didn't get anybody with those picks is correct, because he got 2 all-stars out of it.
Yeah, I'm not. Let's exempt those for sure, because those are top 5 picks and so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm not saying he's a bad GM. I'd love to have I would have loved to have him as a Kings GM, but there are periods where he was thought to be the best GM in the league, and I'm not sure that he is. So
he has been quiet, I will say that, and his big moves haven't really done well. Obviously Hayward was injured, but Kyrie didn't really take too well. Kemba Walker has not been amazing. Yeah, those have been kind of iffy moves.
Yeah. I question how much of that is his fault though. Hayward injury, Kyrie that's on him.
Yeah.
He did his part. I kind of feel like in putting together a team where everyone was like, okay, this should be a championship team, but it just kind of blew up for reasons that aren't necessarily his fault.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, fair enough. I get that. So it wouldn't be hot if it didn't. Yeah, if it didn't incite conversation. So if there are no other takes tonight, last call on hot takes.
Yeah, I got nothing right now.
That's it, man.
Okay, we got nothing else. We want to thank you all for listening to the Bev Boys basketball broadcast. If you liked this show, give us a listen, give us a like, give us a subscription based on wherever you are, and subscribe on YouTube too. And we will see you on the next episode, y'all. Thanks.
Yeah, stay sweet.
Cheers.
Cheers.